Thank you for having me here. A week before my son died, at the age of 17, we were driving home. I'm going to do this, don't worry, from lunch, and in the Berkshires, and he looked out the window and he said, "I wish we could just keep driving forever because it's just so beautiful here." And that was kind of Nico. He found joy in everything. He was, bear with me for talking about his life a little bit before I talk about his death, because we don't want Nico to be defined by his death, but he was a straight A student at Fordham Prep. He was going to Notre Dame. He was a week away from his graduation from high school. He was funny. He loved to engage in conversations on all sorts of range of topics, and he was just as passionate talking about his most favorite was on talking about immigration policy. And he was somebody that was an old soul in a young man's body. And he made very strong friends in his own age group, but he made very strong friends of my friends because he was so engaging. And we thought of him as our star of our family. We were going to sit back and watch what he went on to accomplish because we knew it was going to be very special. So the Thanksgiving before he died, he called all of his friends and he told each one of them what specific thing he was thankful for in the friendship. That he was just that kind of person that was always making people feel loved. Until the day he died, he would walk down the street and hold my hand, even though he was a 5'10", 17-year-old with red hair. He would still hold my hand every day. So he was a very special kid. On the day that Nico died, which was, as I said, a week before his graduation from high school, it was 5 days before the first prom of 3 that he was going to. We had just bought him a tuxedo. And it was 3 days before he was about to go to his award ceremony where he would win 5 academic awards and scholarships. He went into the city. We were up at our weekend house, and I dropped him at the train, and he came into the city to go to a housewarming party at my goddaughter's house. And then he was going to spend the weekend with his father. While he was getting ready to go to the party, a friend of his from elementary school stopped by our house, and she brought her boyfriend along. They had, at some point earlier in the day, gone to an illegal smoke shop, and they had bought a vape cartridge. We don't know what those kids said when they went in there, if they said, "Give us a vape cartridge that's really strong," but we do know that at 17, they were not asked for ID, and they would buy a vape cartridge and bring it into my house. My son had not smoked marijuana more than once or twice, as far as we know, and was very unused to it. So they handed him this vape cartridge and told him that he should try it. Within 20 minutes, Nico had died. He had a very strong reaction to it, and we know this because these 2 other minors were vociferous texters, and we were able, through the police and the district attorney's office, to see their texts, since we had never spoken to them since the day that Nico died. But on their texts, and they also took pictures of Nico, they were shocked by the fact that he had such a strong response to this vape pen that they gave him. Nico kept saying, "There's something wrong, there's something wrong." And at some point, he laid down on the floor and he started to cry. But they still did nothing. And then he started to scratch at the walls and say he couldn't breathe. He eventually got up and he walked outside into the hallway, and he climbed 1 flight of stairs in his socks, which we don't know how he managed to do because they're very slippery stairs, and he got up to the roof. We don't know what happened when he got to the roof, but he fell off of it. So we don't know if Nico was slipped. It was a rainy, cold day. We don't know if Nico thought he could fly. We don't know if Nico thought somebody was chasing him. But Nico had a psychotic break from one hit off of a vape cartridge. I am not an expert on any of this, but I did pull up Nico's toxicology report yesterday to refresh my memory on what it looked like. And I looked up all of the different readings. And one of them, and I was trying to explain it to you, but I think it's 11-hydroxy, said that it was a reading of 5.2, or I don't remember. Anyway, when I looked it up, it said maybe 52, sorry. When I looked it up, it said at 5, they're trying to prevent you from driving a car at 5. His was 52. This was 2 days after he died. They did his autopsy. So 2 days later, he had a toxicology level of 52. His brain fried from one hit off of a vape pen. So what are our lessons learned? I mean, when my kids were young, I told them to look twice before crossing the street. I warned them that they shouldn't smoke cigarettes. I told them not to drink too much. And I specifically said, don't go off to college and be that kid that dies of alcohol poisoning, because I will really, really be furious with you. And they laughed. I said, don't smoke pot. I myself have never smoked pot, but I never told them, because you couldn't walk out the front door of our apartment and not be smoking pot because you were breathing it in. And so I thought, if the state or the city thinks that this is okay, then it must be safe. I didn't say it can kill you if you take one, and I should have, because this could have been prevented. So I thank you for letting me stand here and tell you this story. We miss Nico every day, and I hope at some point you tell your friends and your children, and they tell their friends and their children, and no other 17-year-old ever dies of smoking marijuana.
We will never let this die in dying thing. We'll always remember.